I picked this topic today, and I guess quite often people don't go too far into thinking about how a number of different ways that you could monetize a niche site, um, and quite often it just stops at ads or ads and affiliate, and then that's as far as people go. And there are many ways on to monetize sites. Now, a lot of them only really comes when you start getting traffic, right? Like until you start getting traffic, like nothing really adds up to much. In fact, even ads and affiliate doesn't really add up to much. But really, some other things ways that you can monetize a site just require more investment, and probably until you've got enough traffic, it's not worth that investment. But we'll kind of go through a bunch of things. I've gone for I've got like a list of 11 like bog standard kind of ones here. They're kind of bog standard. Well, I guess they're nothing too amazing and creative. So I guess if you guys have got anything else creative that you come up with as well, that are ways that you can monetize site, we can do that. But I think these ones are just, I guess, easily accessible, easily understandable for people, and kind of apply across really pretty much any niche most of the time. So we'll start with the obvious ones then. So ads / content. So it's pretty easy to add ads to your site. In the old days, you'd start with AdSense potentially, but for me and for I think most people, AdSense offers you so little in return that it wasn't worth clogging up your site for it until you had lots more traffic. At which point you can get a proper ad network on the site. So you can use a Zoic these days. They have a pretty low threshold for entry. It used to be 10,000, I think, page views a month. Now it can be. I wouldn't say it was zero, but it can be a lot lower than it was. So the bar to entry is like much lower than it used to be. I think most people listening to this will probably know about ads. We probably won't labor on it too much, but there's lots of different options for ad networks. The most popular ones, especially amongst our community, are Zoic, Mediavine, and AdThrive. But there are a bunch more, and there's other kind of niche specific ad networks as well, which I can't think of off the top of my head. There's one that's very much in the. Did you mention one the other day, Elena? That's right, or maybe that's someone else. That's very much like in the
gourmet ads, I think we're called.
gourmet ads.
Gourmet
Yeah.
ads. Yeah, and I was looking at an H domain recently, and I noticed that they were using that network. So I'm like, oh, okay. And they were a food site.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they reached out to me and said, hey, I guess they did that to a lot of people, but yeah, it kind of piqued my interest because they are, I think, specifically on food and drink.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I didn't investigate really further with them because I've been told by you and by a lot of kind of industry leaders that Ezoic is kind of your best shot, at least for the type of traffic I have. But yeah, that kind of piqued my interest, I have to say.
Yeah. Yeah. So is that? I've not used. Is it Monumental? Monumental. I've never used that. I've got that wrong. Have you ever used any other non-standard ad networks, Doug, or niche-specific ad networks or anything like that?
No, no, just familiar with the big ones generally. So
Yeah.
yeah, nothing big to add here. Although one thing to add to the conversation or to ask you guys, a lot of people actually it comes up almost every week on my live streams. Should I start with AdSense and just wait to go to Mediavine or AdThrive or something like that, or should I just do Ezoic in the short term or whatever? And usually I just tell people, start with Ezoic because that's where you can, get started right away. It'll probably be better than AdSense. And then you could decide if you want to even try to migrate or not. So I feel like there's some kind of, especially people that are inexperienced, it seems like they don't really know. So they've just heard a lot of people talking in various communities. So they just don't know where to start and they think they need to like level their way up. Do you two have any like thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, so I think in terms of leveling up, people definitely see it as a tiered thing, especially you and Zoic. which I think have kind of made huge grounds in recent years, but it always used to be like the Zoic, Mediafire, and AdThrive. But I've definitely seen people having better experience on, say, Mediavine than they have on AdThrive, and AdThrive versus Zoic. That said, you talk to Tyler from Zoic, and he says, we're all getting the ads from the same on the same place, right? So like basically it should be the same. It's all got, most of them are Google, and so your experience, it just depends on a little bit on the tech and how it's delivered and how the placeholders are set up and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is that we've seen people move from one ad network to another and instantly see an upturn. Again, if you talk to Tyler, he'll say, "Well, it depends how you measure your upturn," and it gets complicated. Because I was talking to Tyler about this, about how we've seen different people move from one ad networks to another. And he says, quite often people are moving from one to another because they're citing growth, so they're hitting a new threshold. So say they'll hit 50,000 for Mediavine. The month before they were 45, and then the next month they're like 55 or 60, and they're like, "This is brilliant! Like I'm getting more money." But like really, they've just grown their traffic by like 10% or whatever.
Right.
And there's a whole bunch of other things that kind of go into like why often when people move, they kind of see they see a positive effect, or at least think they do, until maybe if they look right down at page level and that kind of stuff, then maybe it's not any better or even worse potentially.
And I'll jump in before Elena goes, and that's one of the reasons I'm picking and choosing. But that's one of the reasons why like some communities or Facebook groups or whatever, where you just hear noise from unverified sources, it's like that's a super easy thing to look at. It's like your traffic went up, earnings per visit. Like it's very clear to see that either it's equal or not, but you'll see like one Facebook post and it's like bullshit. Like it's just, it doesn't even make sense if you pull it apart, but then people don't read past like the headline or whatever. And then you end up with someone perhaps inexperienced and they're like, oh, this one's the best, or I should definitely follow this path because this one random person said it. And I know that I'm just picking like a weird example to prove my point, and it works in the opposite way too. But usually that's what I see. Like, we're sort of negative biased and stuff. So.